Good morning, everyone. Good morning here from Auckland on solid ground. This being, I believe, the 78th episode. Can't believe it. So in a few weeks, we'll be up to, of course, 100. We'll have to do a little, I don't know how one does an online celebration. We're certainly not doing champagne at this time in the morning, but we're coming up soon to the 100th episode, which I think is quite amazing. So welcome to Solid Ground. If you're a first-time viewer, if this has just appeared on your feed, this is a live show across everything from LinkedIn to X, Instagram to actually Bob's Substack. My page, Family First page, we're all over the place. Not over the show, but all over the place. So you can view our content. It's where we discuss, or I discuss, the topics of the day from a solid ground of good philosophy, good ethics, good cultural and political norms. But as I say, it's a live show. So if you want to comment, and there's a whole pile coming in already, which I'll get to in a moment. But if you want to comment, if you've got thoughts on what I'm discussing, or in fact you've got a question that you want to ask on something that's on the top of your mind rather than mine, so on top of your mind rather than mine, you can jump onto Family First YouTube channel and to Family First Facebook page. And those comments will come directly to me here in the studio so I can respond to them. Look, there's a lot to talk about today, although the show might be slightly shorter than usual. As you know, well, I hope you know, this week is Family First's Forum on the Family. That's a big deal. Whoops, there's the button. That's a big deal. A very big deal. And so we've got all these amazing guests and speakers coming, not all in person. The likes of Israel and Maria Folau have done a pre-record. Israel's actually in Japan at the moment, but many of the others will be with us in person. So it's a huge week, and we already have the likes of Amanda Ackman here, and I'm looking for the photo. Where is it? I've got so many screens, it's crazy. We already have Amanda Ackman here in New Zealand. I picked her up from the airport a couple of days ago, and she's already rather busy. In fact, one of the reasons the show will be slightly shorter today is that I've got to go and pick her up and take her to another series of talks. So while Family First has brought her down here, we're making sure that she's with other groups like Maxim, Thinking Matters, and various parishes to go and just talk and share her message. So she's very much about the care and love for the elderly, and of course in the euthanasia spot as well, being from Canada. In fact, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on that because the ACT Party have once again shown their death credentials, and I'll explain why in a moment. So as I say, huge week with the Forum on the Family. Strictly registrations closed yesterday, but if you've missed out and you're desperate, get in touch with me and I'm sure we can finagle something. So as I say, wonderful to have you all along. We've got Harrison here. Good morning to you. I can see the full message on my screen. Explain he can't make the forum. Harrison, in the best of ways, of course, I know where you live, which to some people might sound threatening, but no, Rachel and I know where you are, and obviously with school. So we understand that getting there is difficult, but thank you for letting me know. Good morning to Lynette. Lovely to have you along as always. Michael, good morning to you. Rosie, courting controversy here when I press the right button, saying, well, actually it's not controversy completely. Of course, Taupo is paradise. Is it the paradise? That would be the controversial question. But no, Taupo is amazing. I'm sure on a day like today, if it's anything like Auckland, will be stunning. Rabbit Hole saying good morning to all, which is lovely. And then just to make sure that I was included in the all. So good morning to you, Rabbit Hole. Lovely to have you along. Good morning to Catherine. Clearly, the sun is shining all about New Zealand. Good morning to Ian. Lovely to have you here. Darren, good morning. Yeah, I agree it's not so cold. In fact, people can see I'm in a t-shirt this morning. I had my heater on a very low heat, whereas other times I've had it pumping. Rabbit Hole saying my haircut looks good, thank you. We're cleaning up, finally. We're finally cleaning up, which is excellent. Food Dogs Trucking says a jolly good morning to all. Lovely to have you along, Food Dogs Trucking. Chris, good morning to you there in Waipukurau. Sue, of course, one of our wonderful board members, saying it's an excellent lineup. It certainly is, except for Bob and I talking. People can jump onto their iPhones or whatever. Murray's saying it's not the best photo of me. No, it's it's this one he's referring to. No, makes me look very fat. You can see I need to work on my what do you call it? Selfies. I'm hopeless on selfies. I think I'm slightly better with other types of photography. Good morning to David. We've got Chrissy. Good morning. We've got Awake Not Woke. Tremendous to have you along. Oh, Peter, now see, this is where the controversy starts. Peter says Queenstown is paradise. Strictly speaking, actually, I think just around from Queenstown, there literally is a place called Paradise. And Rosie's just commenting on the Voices for Freedom report. It's pretty remarkable, actually. And Catherine's saying, with my heater used to watch the Powerball. Yes, well, I can say even with only two, I always say kids, but the two young ones at home, there's only four of us, but with their penchant for leaving heaters on all the time, we have very expensive power bills. So as I say, obviously we've got Amanda Ackman in the country. She is speaking on Thursday night at the forum. So a heads up for those of you who are coming to the forum, and I hope many of you can. Thursday night's not just a meal and a chat. We've actually got Carolee Smith and Amanda Ackman both speaking. So the conference, if you will, formally starts that night. So it'll be great to have you along there. In what I think is also good news, I came across this in the Australian yesterday. So those who used to make Nokia, so that was a Finnish company, I think, are basically working on a new phone for children, which is going to use AI to help filter the likes of pornography, and I assume using AI to filter out violent videos and so forth, which, whether it works or not, is obviously a moot point, and there are far more intelligent people than me out there who understand the technologies. But I think this is a step in the right direction to actually use the tech tools that we have. And so kudos to HMD, so they're the company that now makes Nokia. Sorry, Peter's just expressing his power bills over $1,000 a month, which is absolutely scary figures. Mine's not quite as high, but it sometimes gets towards that territory, but there's a few reasons for that one. Anyway, this is, I think, relatively good news. In fact, we've been doing quite a bit here in Family First around, obviously, the under-16s access to technology, and really importantly, so I've been distracted. This is the only problem with comments, is I get distracted, which I shouldn't do, but I do. So quickly to you, Harrison, we are selling the mugs at conference, but because, well, again, we know who you are, Harrison, in the best of ways. If people are wondering, Harrison was a student, if I'm allowed to say this, Harrison, who was taught by my wife. So look, get in touch, Harrison. We can sort that out for you, which is good. And so this is why I always get distracted. Foo Dogs Trucking's now that if we turn the heaters off in the beehive, they might get something done. That's right. I remember, granted this is in Catholic Church history, but the cardinals were taking so long to elect a pope that I think they did turn the heating off. It wasn't electric heating at the time, but no one stoked the fires, and they really reduced the food until they made a decision. So yes, that could do the trick in the beehive. Anyway, distracted as always. As I say, a good step here by Nokia, and granted, coming out of the United States, but there's now a federal bill around App Store accountability, and if you're wondering what that's all about, in fact, there's quite a number of family matters that I've done recently. If you want to go and look those up, if you're interested in how we protect our young ones from social media and the online harms. And really importantly, I make a distinction there, because kids going online when they're young, regardless of whether they are seeing violent or pornographic issues, just being on their devices causes a lot of stress and anxiety. And you may remember, if you were at the forum last year, we had Dr. Jonathan Haidt, who wrote the book The Anxious Generation, speaking about this, and he was really, really strong on it, which is merely having the phones creates an anxiety. Because you know yourselves, I suspect, and we talk about it with Melissa Mackay here, she's a leader in the United States for accountability of the likes of app stores, and I'll explain quickly what that is in a moment. But as you say, just simply your child having the phone increases anxiety, let alone the content that they see. So I've done a number of interviews. In fact, just talked to someone a couple of days ago from Florida, Aaron DePietro, who leads effectively an equivalent organisation to Family First there, about what they're doing. Melissa here in this podcast of mine a few weeks back talks about what she's successfully done in Utah. And as I say, now there's a federal bill, so Senator Mike Lee has put one in So the idea is not to ban children per se from particular sites, but to stop them downloading the apps. So most of us will have either access to Apple Store or the App Store, Apple's App Store, or Google Play, and you just jump on there and you download Facebook or your Uber app or whatever. So what these laws are proposing, like Melissa has done in Utah, is saying that you need to actually verify the age of the person accessing the App Store. It needs to be enforced. So Melissa was keen to stress that that's already meant to be the case. So anyway, a lot of exciting things are happening in the United States, which is why we're spending quite a bit of time talking about it and trying to influence here in New Zealand, because we seem to be able to slap age restrictions and limitations around accessing online casinos very easily here in New Zealand. But we can't seem to do it when it's to do with our children, which is a bit of a worrying. David's noting that there was an old tale of a early computer museum that had a library of bad. Yeah, well, I vaguely recall that. Even as you try to set internet filters for your kids on their devices and computers years and years and years ago, that you could list sites, you could list words, but of course it's like squeezing a balloon, isn't it? When you squeeze one area, it just pops out somewhere else. And so it's one of my, what's the right word? Reservations, that's what I'm looking for. One of my reservations around trying to ban certain sites or stop children accessing certain sites. I think there'll always be other sites that are missed, and young ones will find a way around. Also, as someone pointed out to me, one of the kids, they had blocked all the browsers on their computer or on their phone, so like Chrome and so forth. But the kid realized that actually if they opened up the App Store, that in itself opened up another browser that no one really thought about, and through that was able to access what they wanted. So it's a remarkably complex area, but I think there's real merit in exploring this App Store sign. Peter's saying you've got to be careful around digital IDs. I think that's mostly true. I have concerns, although I would also point out we use them a lot already. Your passport's a really good example of that, although I suppose the counter to that is we're not pulling out our passport every 5 minutes to verify what sites we're on. So we've got that. There are so many, and Peter's also noticing when parents be parents. I sort of agree, but I would add, when it comes to things like cell phones, they're ubiquitous, they're everywhere. You cannot, I found as a step parent, you cannot be monitoring what your kids are watching all the time. And lots of comments here around video game characters and the various screenshots. And so I won't be able to get to all of them, but great comments rolling in there. But as I say, if you've got an interest in this area, jump onto our Family First website and look up those podcasts. And in a few days, I'm actually going to be dropping a podcast from Sam Sorbo. She's the wife of Kevin Sorbo, the actor from Hercules, famous actor from Hercules. She and I talk homeschooling, but we also talk into this space too. I mentioned at the start that ACT is proving its death credentials, and why I said that, and this is a serious topic, something actually Amanda Ackerman will be talking to. ACT has just, through one of its MPs, tabled a new members bill. So this has to be drawn out of the ballot, but their new members bill is to amend, only after 3 years, the euthanasia and assisted suicide law that New Zealand has. And it incorporates all the amendments that the Ministry of Health recommends. And before anyone thinks that's a good idea, the Ministry of Health is completely committed to euthanasia. The review they put out was a very distressing read for a whole variety of reasons, including, and this is what the bill wants to enforce now in law, removing the conscience rights of doctors and nurses to avoid being part of euthanasia. So as it stands at the moment, doctors and nurses in New Zealand do not have to be part of euthanasia. The law that ACT wants to pass is effectively going to force them to do so. Now, ACT will claim it's not. They've said, where is it explicitly written in the law? Which you can't actually strictly find it in the law. And you look, this amendment bill, there's not a line that says doctors and nurses will have to provide euthanasia. What they've done instead, it's a classic political trick, is they reference a code of practice. And what the code of practice will say is that euthanasia, just like abortion, is now part of healthcare. And if you want to be a doctor, then you have to deliver all healthcare as defined by this code of conduct, written, by the way, by death cultists and others in the Ministry of Health. Well captured, many of these codes of conduct, codes of practice are. Again, they're just captured by these progressive ideologues, which again see the terminating of the elderly, the sick and the disabled, or the terminating of little babies as standard healthcare. To myself and many others, it's beyond abhorrent, but that's what they write into their codes, and in turn this law references them. So doctors and nurses are going to be forced, and I can see Rodney here noting you cannot legislate. No, well, you can't strictly, but they're going to do their best, and it's already happening here in New Zealand. There was a court case a couple of years ago where doctors opposed to abortion went to the court, the Supreme Court, and said, look, this is offending our conscience rights. In fact, it's offending the New Zealand Bill of Rights, which says explicitly that you have a freedom of belief. And the court said, no, we actually don't agree with you. Simple as that, they don't agree. So one of your fundamental rights here in New Zealand, which is a freedom of belief or freedom of religion, just got tossed out the door by our activist Supreme Court. So you're going to see that here. The bill also removes conscience rights, if you will, or freedom rights from hospitals and care homes. They are going to be forced to allow euthanasia on their premises. Again, absolutely abhorrent and wrong. If you want to kill yourself, if you want suicide in terms of end of life, I don't want you to, but you are free to make that choice according to New Zealand law. But what they want now is to force all and every hospice, rest home, care home and facility to allow it. So choice to kill yourself, but no choice to the providers. Again, it's all put forward as this is consumer wants. A hospice, for example, should not stop the choice of the patient. And that's absolutely abhorrent. Again, I know that's my word this morning, but hospices they do not want to be part of euthanasia. And as I wrote in a press release yesterday, once and if this law is ever passed, if euthanasia has been practiced everywhere and doctors and nurses are being forced to do it, you as a patient are going to be in that bed when the doctors and nurses come to you with a syringe asking, are they coming to heal me or are they coming to kill me? And that might sound dramatic to some people, but it's an absolute reality. If all of a sudden euthanasia is allowed all and everywhere, because that's the other underlying thing in this bill, it really broadens the scope. Here's a euphemism for you this morning, they talk about removing the temporal requirement. You've heard me right, the temporal requirement. I had to look up that, saying, well, what are we talking about here? Well, what it means is removing the 6-month rule. So at the moment, the doctor needs to say that you're very likely to die in 6 months. Well, ACT now calls that a temporal requirement, and they're removing it. In other words, you can be sick, and it doesn't matter if you're going to die in 6 days, 6 months, 6 years, you still fit the law. So long and short, this is broadening it terribly. It's broadening it terribly. And there's a real warning because they keep talking about Canada. And I'll start to wrap up here. This is coming out of Canada. This is just recently out of a parliament, verified it with Amanda. The Canadians are now looking to see how they can kill children, teenagers, and babies. Now, again, it's not a surprise to me, and probably not a surprise to many of you. Once you say that terminating people, facilitating suicide is okay in some cases, it just spreads. The very fact that ACT's amendment bill is longer than the original bill shows you just how slippery the slope is. But here in Canada, they're saying, you know what? We need to think about killing teenagers and children. Bear in mind, too, Canada has already passed a law saying that mental health is a reason you can be terminated. They haven't, they've legislated it, but they haven't put it into action yet. I mean, what a combo that's going to be with depressed teenagers. But get this, I hope you can read it. Excuse me. The Canadians want to go and consult with children and teenagers about whether they want to have access to euthanasia or not. You do have to ask, where are the adults in the room? I mean, honestly, to go to children, to go to teenagers and ask them about killing themselves is beyond appalling. It's very much the same as what you're seeing in the likes of Australia, Canada and the UK and elsewhere, where trans activists and others are going into the schools telling kids that they're in the wrong bodies. And you can see the bottom part that's circled as well. Explicitly, these death-loving MPs in Canada are saying we really shouldn't talk to the parents. We really just should talk to the child. And as I say, don't even need to consent to the child's death. And so what they're referencing here is actually what happens in the likes of Belgium at the moment, that if a child is born exceptionally unwell, the doctors may just kill the child then and there and just say, well, look, it's just dead, and they won't tell the parents. It's just, you can just see where this all leads. I know it's a very heavy topic, and it's one I get fired up on, because this culture of death, it's a culture of death. And I can see lots and lots of comments. I'm sorry I've been overwhelmed with them this morning. And I can see one here from DD. It said, it doesn't oppose euthanasia. It's too long to fit on my screen. It doesn't oppose, but there needs to be a very high bar. And while I wouldn't fully agree with that, and that I'm fully opposed to euthanasia, I think DD is also right. If you're going to have it, you would expect a very high bar. And I suppose what I'm warning people here this morning of what the ACT Party has always wanted to do. They effectively want suicide on demand. And you can debate me on that, but I think I'm right. And why I say that is because it's just ever growing, ever expanding. And that's what their amendment bill does. It makes it much, much easier to access, pushes more and more money and resources into promoting euthanasia. That's also part of the Ministry of Health's review. They take the likes of Māori and Pacific communities and say, look, they're not suiciding as much as other groups. We need to go out and promote assisted suicide to them even more. It's just nuts. But they're expanding this wider and wider and wider, easier to access, forcing more doctors to be involved. The bar is getting put lower and lower and lower, which is why I said, and I said it when I was in Parliament, we will effectively end up with a regime which is suicide on demand here. And it's just absolutely, absolutely tragic. I'm going to wrap up there. A reminder, actually there is no, I don't have the right picture here, there is no political playback this Thursday. And I'm unlikely, I should back the horse and cart up. Because the Forum on the Family is running from Thursday evening and all day Friday, obviously I can't be in two places at once, so there's no political playback this Thursday. And likely I will not be doing the Solid Ground this Thursday either, again with the conference on and everything happening. It might just be a bit too intense, and don't expect to see Bob doing Daybreak on Friday either. So as I say, no political playback on Thursday, and probably no Solid Ground on Thursday too as we get ready for the conference. A reminder of our Substacks. This one on the events around Sydney Sweeney and the woke left going nuts. This Substack's really taking off. Bob himself, of course, exceptionally busy on his Substack, so check that out. And the latest podcast is still with Sharon Quick. We'll be dropping another one soon. It'll be again with Sam Sorbo. But Sharon Quick's an anaesthetist, and I can see a lot of talk actually on the chat around organ donation. She talks into this space, including around euthanasia, talking about how the drugs for euthanasia actually work, and it's pretty horrifying to think. Again, you hear and see nothing about that in the ACT bill. So guys, I'm going to leave you to it. Lovely to have you along as always. As I say, Forum on the Family this week. If you're going, I look forward to seeing you in person. If you've gone, oh my lord, I forgot to register and registrations are closed, drop me a line. I will see what I can wrangle for you. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your week.